A 7-year-old girl in an old white dress trembled on her knees, sobbing uncontrollably as her stepmother poured an entire glass of orange juice over her head to humiliate her in front of everyone at a lavish party. But at that very moment, the door burst open, and her millionaire father rushed in. His furious shout froze the entire room. What happened next completely changed the child's destiny. Before we begin, please leave a comment about this story and give us a rating from 1 to 10. Are you doing well? If there is anything you would like to share, I am always here to listen. Wishing you a few quiet moments as you follow this healing story along the journey of courage and justice. Late in the afternoon, the last rays of sunlight spilled gold across the long road leading to the quiet suburbs. The trees on both sides swayed gently in the wind, scattering patches of light and shadow on the pavement. Inside a sleek black car, Ethan Parker sat behind the wheel, his eyes fixed on the birthday cake box carefully placed on the passenger seat. The white frosting was smooth and neat, with a small blue message written on top, "Happy Birthday, Lily." His fingers tapped lightly on the steering wheel in a slow rhythm, but his heart was pounding hard. It had been a long time since he had prepared a surprise for his little daughter, Lily. Ethan was 40 years old, a successful businessman in real estate. To outsiders, he was nothing more than a cold millionaire, always buried in contracts and meetings. But few knew he had suffered an enormous loss. His first wife had died shortly after giving birth to their daughter. That shock closed Ethan off, pushing him to drown himself in work, using business deals and spreadsheets to fill the emptiness inside. His daughter, little Lily Parker, was the only reason he kept moving forward. Every time he looked into her clear eyes, Ethan felt warmth but also guilt, because he had never truly known how to express his love. He could buy her the most expensive things in the world, but he faltered when it came to something as simple as holding her in his arms or saying, "I love you." For more than a month he had been away on a business trip, buried in a major deal. The hurried late-night phone calls could never replace the presence of a father. Lily's clear voice over the phone kept echoing in his head. "Daddy, come home soon. I miss you so much." Those words pierced his heart like a needle, making him realize the distance between them was only growing. That was why this time Ethan decided to leave everything behind and return earlier than planned. He told no one, hoping that on Lily's 7th birthday she would finally receive a surprise she had long been waiting for. Her father walking through the door, not just with a gift, but with love shown through every action. The suburban Los Angeles evening carried a chill. The road leading into the wealthy neighborhood was almost empty, with only a few cars passing in the opposite direction. Ethan lowered the window, drew in a deep breath, and tried to picture Lily's face when he walked in carrying the cake. The thought made him smile, but then an unusual noise from the roadside forced him to slam on the brakes. A woman had collapsed right by the white line, her body curled in pain, both hands clutching her stomach. Not a single car stopped. The pedestrians only glanced and walked on. Ethan threw open his door and rushed to her side. "Can you hear me? Hey, try to open your eyes." His voice was urgent, a little shaky. Her eyelids trembled. Slowly, the woman opened her eyes, her voice weak and broken. "Please, don't leave me here." That fragile sentence made Ethan pause for a moment. He immediately lifted her up, placed her in the back seat, and sped straight to the nearest hospital. In the emergency room, the doctor reported. The woman was about 30 years old, 5 months pregnant, but she had no documents and no place to live. She is severely malnourished and needs further monitoring. She has no relatives, and no one has paid her medical bills, the doctor said softly, his tone carrying a trace of pity. Ethan signed the paper, pulled out his credit card, his eyes firm. He did not explain much, only nodded. "I'll cover the expenses. Just make sure she gets proper care." A few hours later, when the woman regained consciousness, Ethan was sitting by her bed. Her brown hair was tangled, her face thin, yet her eyes shone in a strange way. He asked gently, "Are you okay?" I'm fine. Thank you for saving me." I don't know what to say." Her voice trailed off. Ethan gave a faint smile and replied, "There's no need to say anything. I have a large house. If you want, you can come there. You can help with housework in return for what I've done for you. At the very least, you'll have a safe place to carry your pregnancy to term. The woman looked at him in astonishment, her eyes filling with tears. She clutched the thin blanket tightly, then nodded slightly. "My name is Hannah Reed. Thank you. Truly, thank you." In that moment, Ethan felt something soften deep inside him. It was just a fleeting decision, yet he had no idea it would change the fate of his entire family. Night had already fallen when Ethan drove out of the hospital. Hannah sitting quietly in the back seat, her hand resting lightly on her belly. The car rolled down the familiar road leading to the Parker estate. Ethan glanced at the birthday cake on the passenger seat, his chest swelling with a mixture of excitement and warmth. He imagined Lily running out, her eyes sparkling at the sight of the cake, thought of the childish smile he had missed far too many times. But as the car turned into the gate, Ethan suddenly froze. From inside came the pounding of loud music, laughter echoing boisterously through the grand hall. The sound was so strange, so jarring, nothing at all like the birthday celebration he had pictured for his little girl. Ethan gripped the steering wheel tightly, his eyes darkening. A heavy sense of foreboding rose within him. The car rolled through the large gate, heading straight into the spacious courtyard of the mansion. Ethan stopped right at the front steps, turned off the engine, then leaned over to look at Hannah. He gently reminded her, "You just stay here and rest. I'll go inside first, then I'll come back to bring you in." Hannah nodded, her hand resting on her 5-month pregnant belly, her face still pale. Ethan drew in a deep breath, took the birthday cake box in his hands, and walked quickly into the house. Music from the grand hall grew louder with every step. Laughter, voices, and the clinking of glasses filled the air. He frowned, his steps faltering for a moment. Lily's birthday? How had it turned into such a noisy party? He pushed the door open. The grand hall blazed with the light of chandeliers. Dozens of people in elegant attire stood laughing, glasses of wine in hand. On a long table covered with a white cloth lay rows of wine bottles, pastries, and food. But in the midst of all that extravagance, the image that clenched Ethan's heart was his little daughter. Lily Parker, 7 years old, thin in an old white dress, stood trembling in a corner of the room. In her hands was a tray of glasses far larger than her small arms could bear. Her face was lowered, her steps unsteady, looking more like a servant than the main figure of her own birthday. And at the center of that party was Isabella Grant, Ethan's stepwife. The 35-year-old woman, known for her charm and talent for making impressions, stood tall with carefully curled hair, heavy makeup, and a dazzling tight red dress that ensured every eye fell on her. Before Ethan could say a word, it happened. Lily staggered forward a few steps, one of the glasses slipping off the tray. The sharp sound of glass shattering echoed across the hall. Red wine splashed across Isabella's dress, leaving a wide stain. The room fell silent. Every gaze turned toward Lily. Isabella froze, her eyes darkening before curving into a twisted smile. Her voice, cold and sharp, was raised deliberately so everyone could hear. "This little brat, you ruined my dress in front of all my friends? Useless child, you can't even carry a tray properly." Lily trembled as she dropped to her knees, her tiny hands gathering the shards of broken glass, her voice quivering, choked with fear. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Mom, please don't be angry. I'll clean it up. Please don't scold me." Isabella bent down, yanked the tray of glasses from Lily's hands, and slammed it onto the floor, shattering it once again. Her voice cut like a blade as she spat out each word. "You're nothing but a disgrace to me, a burden in this house. I'd rather raise a dog than have you." Lily shook violently, tears streaming down her cheeks, clutching desperately at the edge of Isabella's dress. "Please, Mom, I'll be good. I won't do anything wrong again. Don't hate me. I'm so scared." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few shook their heads, but no one stepped forward to stop it. Isabella's satisfaction grew, her eyes glinting with cruelty. She snatched up a glass of orange juice from the banquet table and raised it high. "You want to apologize? Then do it this way," Isabella shouted, and poured the juice straight over Lily's head. The cold liquid streamed down the little girl's hair, dripping onto her faded white dress. Her entire body trembled uncontrollably. Arms crossed, chin raised, Isabella sneered with venom. "Look, let everyone see you for what you are. Useless trash. Nothing but a servant in this house. The daughter of a millionaire? Ha! You look no different than a beggar dragged off the streets. Lily sobbed so hard, her words came out broken, her tiny hands clinging to the hem of her dress, her lips trembling as she repeated again and again, "Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm not a beggar. I just want to be a good girl." Tears mixed with the orange juice streaked her young face. The crowd looked on, some frowning with discomfort, others laughing cruelly, yet not a single person moved to stop it. From the shadow of the staircase, Ethan had seen everything. The birthday cake in his hands trembled, the small candle flame flickering with each sharp breath. His chest tightened, muscles locked with fury. He strode forward, the sound of his shoes pounding the tiled floor thundered through the hall, silencing the crowd. Just as Isabella lifted her head higher in triumph, Ethan roared, his voice booming like a crack of thunder. "Enough, Isabella!" Ethan set the birthday cake down on the floor before anyone could react, then rushed forward and wrapped Lily in his arms. The little girl trembled violently, her wet hair clinging to her face, the sour smell of orange juice soaking through her clothes. His voice thundered through the room, every word striking like a hammer. "Who gave you the right to treat my daughter like this?" Ethan's sudden appearance stunned the entire crowd of guests. A few older men hastily put their glasses of wine down. Several women exchanged uneasy glances. Among them were Isabella's former colleagues, people she had deliberately invited to show off. But now, not a single person dared to laugh. Isabella froze for a brief moment, then quickly regained her false composure. She smoothed her hair and raised her voice. "You misunderstood, Ethan. The girl was being stubborn. She spilled a glass of wine on my dress in front of everyone. I only wanted to teach her how to behave properly." Ethan tightened his hold on Lily's shoulders, his blazing eyes fixed directly on his wife. "Teacher? This is what you call teaching? You turned her birthday into a public humiliation, a spectacle for your friends' amusement. Is that what you call teaching?" Lily let out a broken sob, burying her face in her father's chest. Her tiny voice came out in fragments. "Daddy, I'm scared. I didn't mean to." Ethan bent down, his hand gently rubbing her back, his tone softening for a moment. "It's all right, Lily. You did nothing wrong." But then he straightened, his face turning cold as steel. His finger pointed directly at Isabella. "Get out of this house. This marriage ended the very moment you poured orange juice over my daughter's head." The words struck like a sentence passed in court, leaving every guest in stunned silence. Isabella's face drained of color, her lips pressed tight. She took a step back, her voice breaking. You can't say that in front of all these people. You're humiliating me." Ethan shot back, his voice low but unshakably firm. "No, Isabella. You humiliated yourself. I trusted you. I entrusted you with my daughter's care, and you chose to trample on her. You don't deserve to remain in this house for another second." Isabella gripped the edge of the table, her eyes sharp as blades. She clenched her teeth and hissed each word. "You will regret this, Ethan. Don't think you and that girl can escape me so easily." A few guests at the party tried to intervene. Mr. Thomas, a middle-aged man, cautiously raised his hand. Perhaps everyone should calm down. Ethan turned sharply, his voice cold. "This is my family matter. Please stay out of it." No one said another word. The silence was so heavy that even the sound of breathing could be heard. Isabella finally let out a bitter laugh, slipped off her high heels and slammed them against the floor, then turned her back and walked away. Every step she took echoed loudly, pulling along the wary eyes of all the guests. When her hand touched the doorknob, Isabella turned her head, her eyes burning red like blood. "You will pay for this, Ethan. And so will that girl." The door slammed shut with a bang, shaking the entire room. A deep silence spread. Ethan held Lily tightly in his arms. The little girl was still sobbing, trembling endlessly, her lips mumbling in haunted fear. "I'm sorry. I ruined Mommy's dress. I'm sorry, Dad. I shouldn't have done that." Ethan's heart tore apart as if it were being ripped into pieces. He bent down, clutching his daughter even closer, his voice breaking yet firm. "No, sweetheart. You did nothing wrong. The mistake lies with the one who made you cry like this. and I will never let anyone hurt you again." But even as he said that, Lily's small hand still clutched his suit tightly, her fragile body shaking without pause. Inside Ethan's mind, one relentless question echoed. What have I allowed her to endure all this time? After the heavy door of the grand hall slammed shut, its echo still lingered in Ethan's chest. He carried Lily upstairs, walking past the guests who still sat in shock. No one dared to say a word. Only the sound of his footsteps pounded through the hallway, blending with the sobs of his daughter. He went straight upstairs, whispering softly to calm her hiccups as he walked. The small bedroom door creaked open, releasing a faint, musty smell. Ethan set her down on the edge of the bed, pulled a thin blanket over her soaked dress, then stepped toward the wardrobe. He opened it. Inside were wrinkled dresses with frayed collars, some with loose threads. On the shelf, a pair of children's shoes lay crushed. In the corner, a plastic box labeled "Clean Clothes" stood empty. Ethan froze. He lifted the tags on several garments, realizing they were all from the previous season, some still stained with yellow marks from careless washing. He let go, and the wardrobe door closed with a soft thud. Only one question burned in his mind, sharp and cold. How long had his daughter been dressed like this without him knowing? He turned back and saw Lily curled up under the blanket. Her small shoulders rose and fell with each breath. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, gently brushing away her tangled hair, still sticky with orange juice. His voice dropped low, straining against the anger boiling in his chest. "No one has the right to scold you for a small accident. You are your father's pride." Lily peeked at him, then quickly shook her head, her voice trembling. "No, I made everything dirty. Mom hates me. You will hate me too." Ethan's throat tightened, his eyes glistening. He wanted to shout that she was completely innocent, that nothing was her fault, but he knew the scars in her heart could not be erased with a few comforting words. He only held Lily's tiny hand, letting her feel his warmth. At that moment, the bedroom door opened slightly. Hannah stepped inside, her hair tied neatly back, holding an old fairy tale book. Ethan looked up, a little surprised. Hannah gave a soft smile and explained in a quiet but steady voice, "I saw this book on the shelf in the living room. Maybe she used to read it, or maybe she just held it when she was scared. I thought, maybe right now she needs to hear a story." Ethan nodded gently and stepped aside. Hannah pulled a wooden chair closer to the bed, opened the book, and her voice flowed slowly, tenderly. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who always thought she was small and useless. But in truth, she carried within her a heart braver than anyone else. Lily turned her face to the wall, her small shoulders trembling, her eyes still wet with tears. But as the steady, warm voice continued to read, her body slowly relaxed. Her tiny hand let go of the edge of the blanket. Then she turned back little by little, her wide eyes fixed on Hannah. "Are you really reading this for me?" Lily asked in a faint, hoarse whisper. Hannah looked up, her eyes gentle. "Yes. Do you want me to keep going?" Lily bit her lip, then gave a small nod. The room grew still, filled only with the steady sound of Hannah's voice, blending with the little girl's gradually calmer breathing. After a few more pages, Lily's eyelids grew heavy. When Hannah softly closed the book and pulled the blanket up around her, two faint words slipped from the child's lips. "Mom." Both Ethan and Hannah froze. That trembling call, fragile yet full of longing, was the first time it had escaped from lips used to silence and fear. Hannah bent closer, gently brushing away the tear still clinging to Lily's cheek, her heart tightening as if gripped by an unseen hand. At the doorway, Ethan leaned against the wooden frame, his hand gripping the knob so tightly his knuckles turned white. His eyes were red, his throat choked with emotion. He whispered to himself, as if confessing aloud, "Maybe this is the mother she truly needs." The next morning, Ethan quietly opened the bedroom door so as not to wake Lily. He carried out a bag of old clothes, brought them downstairs, and called the laundry service to pick them up. While waiting, he ordered a set of new dresses, shirts, socks, and shoes in her exact size. He checked the fridge, took out eggs, milk, and bread. The smell of melting butter spread through the kitchen. The steady sound of a knife against the cutting board helped him calm down after a heavy night. Hannah walked in, one hand on her back, her 5-month pregnant belly showing gently under a loose shirt. She washed her hands, then automatically set bowls and plates on the table. "Let me do my part," she said softly. Ethan glanced over and nodded in place of words of thanks. "Today we eat breakfast together," he said. "No rushing and no yelling." Lily appeared at the kitchen door, hesitating as if she wanted to turn away. Ethan leaned slightly, inviting her closer. "You can sit between me and Hannah." The little girl slowly pulled out a chair, placed her hands on her lap, and stole a glance at the pan of pancakes on the stove. Hannah cut the first piece, drizzled a little syrup, then asked, "Do you want some strawberries or just the butter flavor?" Lily shook her head, very faintly. Hannah didn't press her. She simply slid the plate toward her. "Let's start with a small piece. If it tastes good, you can have more." Ethan poured milk into a cup and set it in front of Lily. "Slowly," he reminded her. The child accepted it nervously. Then, with her hand still trembling, the cup slipped from her fingers, spilling across the table and dripping onto the floor. Lily froze. Her face turned pale. Her lips trembled. "I'm sorry. Please don't send me away. I'll clean it. I won't make a mess again." Hannah knelt down immediately without another word. She picked up a cloth and wiped the milk on the floor slowly, as if nothing serious had just happened. "It's all right. Everyone drops things sometimes," she said, her voice steady and warm. "Next time we'll just be a little more careful." She handed Lily another dry cloth. "You can help me with the table. 2 people make it quicker than 1. Lily bit her lip, tears spilling just as she reached out for the cloth. She wiped the table in rhythm with Hannah's movements, then suddenly broke into sobs and clung to her. "Mom, I'm sorry." The word "mom" slipped out, half mistake, half as if her whole life had been waiting for that moment. Hannah gently held the girl's shoulders, letting Lily rest her head against her. "No one gets sent away here," she said. "Only people who are loved and taught how to do better." Ethan stood there, his heart aching yet warm for the first time. He poured milk again, this time into a cup with a spill-proof lid, and smiled. "I've spilled things too. When I was your age, your grandpa laughed about it all day. So now I laugh with you." Lily looked at him, her eyes still red but already brighter. Later in the day, the delivery man brought boxes of new clothes. Ethan laid them out on the sofa, hung a few dresses on hangers, and asked his daughter, "Which one would you like to wear for our afternoon walk?" Lily hesitated, her finger brushing against a white dress with light blue trim before pulling back. "If I choose wrong, will I be scolded?" Ethan shook his head. "In our home, choosing wrong only means we learn something new about what we like. That's all." Hannah stood nearby, suggesting, "How about you close your eyes and touch the fabrics? Whichever one feels most comfortable, that's the one you pick." Lily closed her eyes, a small smile forming when her hand touched the soft cotton. "I want this one," she said, just loud enough to be heard. At noon, the 3 of them sat together folding clothes. Each time Lily's folds weren't straight, Hannah adjusted them just a little without complaining. "Look here," she said. "Pull this corner gently, press your finger on the edge, and it stays flat." Lily tried again, this time neater. "Good job," Hannah praised. "It doesn't have to be perfect, just better than before." In the afternoon, Ethan called to reschedule his meetings. He scrolled through his contacts until he found the number of a child psychologist an old friend had once recommended, Dr. Leah Simmons. He left a message to arrange the first evaluation. "You're going to meet a very kind doctor," he explained to Lily. "She doesn't use needles, only questions. If you don't want to answer, you can say later." Lily nodded, her body still tense but her eyes didn't look away. That evening, they carried their light meal out to the yard. The sky was deep blue, and the breeze was cool. Ethan sliced apples, Hannah brewed mint tea, and Lily brought along the fairy tale book Hannah had been reading the night before. "We were at the part with the broken bowl," Lily reminded. Hannah laughed. "Yes, the broken bowl, but not a broken heart." They took turns reading. Lily occasionally interrupted with a question. "If the girl wants to say no, is she allowed to say no?" Hannah answered, "Yes. In our home, no is a polite answer when you need to feel safe," Ethan added, "and I'll be right there when you say no." After they finished eating, Ethan glanced at Hannah. He hesitated for a moment, then said softly, "You've given my daughter something I couldn't. Thank you." Hannah was about to wave it off, but his eyes were serious. "It's not because I've done anything big," she replied. "It's because you allowed me to help. Not everyone can do that." Sitting between them, Lily's small hand clasped both of theirs. She whispered as if afraid the wind would carry her words away. "I don't want to lose anyone else." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "No one is going anywhere," he said. "We hold on to each other with the little things." Hannah nodded. "Tomorrow we'll put a note on the fridge," she suggested, "writing down the little things we've done for each other. Like today, Lily folded one shirt perfectly straight." Lily grinned, her eyes crinkling. "Tomorrow I'll fold two." As night fell, Ethan carried Lily inside. Her head rested on his shoulder, and she drifted off almost instantly, her breathing steady. Hannah cleared away the tea tray, placed the storybook back in its spot. Everything was peacefully simple. Upstairs, Lily's bedroom lamp glowed with a warm golden light. At that very moment, at the edge of the neighborhood, a dark car pulled up along the curb. Inside, Isabella Grant sat with her arms folded, her gaze as cold as steel. Beside her was a heavy-set man with a shaved head and tattooed arms, Marcus Doyle. He was infamous in the area, a man with a record of theft and assault, living off shady problem-solving jobs for people with money but no conscience. Isabella smirked, her voice low and venomous. "Enjoy it while you can. Soon, I'll take everything back." Marcus glanced at a picture of Lily on his phone and snorted. "Work is work. You name the price." Isabella fastened her jacket button, her eyes never leaving the house. "I always pay for what I want." The car engine started, and it disappeared into the darkness. Inside the house, Ethan had just tucked the blanket around his daughter when his phone buzzed with a notification about a delivery scheduled for tomorrow. He smiled, unaware that outside, someone had already begun counting the steps of his family's every move. That evening, after a warm dinner at the table, Ethan took Lily back to her bedroom. The little girl had begun to get used to Hannah's presence, and sometimes she even whispered, "Miss Hannah, will you read me a story?" Ethan stood still watching that scene, his heart warmed yet aching at the same time. He knew the emptiness inside Lily's heart was slowly being filled. While the mansion sank into its rare moment of peace, somewhere else in the city, an old wooden door swung open, and the dim light of a bar spilled out. Inside, the smell of cigarette smoke mixed with the stench of strong liquor. A familiar figure sat in the dark corner, Isabella Grant. Her hair, once styled to perfection, now hung in a tangled mess. The deep red lipstick was smeared, yet her eyes still burned with hatred. In front of her sat a glass of red wine, untouched, her hand gripping it so tightly that her knuckles turned pale. The bar door opened again. A tall man walked in with heavy steps. His worn leather jacket looked battered, his face covered with scruffy stubble, a long scar stretching from his ear down near his chin. This was Marcus Doyle, a name notorious in the local underworld. Marcus had worked as an enforcer for countless illegal gambling dens, often involved in violent brawls, and his name alone was enough to make cowards tremble. Marcus slumped into the chair across from her, lit a cigarette, and blew out a thick cloud of smoke. His voice was low, rough, and blunt. "I heard you need a job, something not so clean." Isabella curved her lips into a smile, her eyes glinting. "That's right, just a child. I want her out of Ethan's life, or at the very least, I want him to pay for betraying me." Marcus raised an eyebrow, taking a long drag of his cigarette. "Sounds simple, but are you sure? Kidnapping a child isn't a game. The police will hunt relentlessly. The consequences won't be small." Isabella let out a dry laugh, the sound cracking in the shadows. "Don't preach to me. I'll pay double. All I want is Ethan crushed, so everything he has will be mine. His money, his reputation, even that fragile little family he's trying to rebuild. All of it will be ruined." At the table behind them, a glass was set down with a sharp clink. It was Veronica King, Isabella's close friend. Veronica was in her early 30s, dressed in high fashion, her makeup sharp, her smile always hiding something. For years, she had been Isabella's shadow, spreading rumors and covering up her dirty dealings. Veronica leaned back in her chair, her voice clear, laced with mockery. "I'll handle the fake news. There will be articles blaming Ethan, whispers that will strip him of his reputation. And Marcus, all you need to do is keep it neat, leave no trace. If we succeed, this city will never again speak of Ethan as a model businessman." Isabella leaned forward, her eyes flashing under the dim neon light. She lifted her glass of wine, swirling it gently, her voice low and filled with hatred. "If I cannot have what I want, then he will never know happiness. I swear it." Marcus crushed his cigarette and tilted his chin. "Fine, I don't care about the reason. I only care about the money you promised." Isabella nodded, then placed a thick bundle of envelopes on the table, pushing it toward him. The sound of paper rustling in the silent room cut as sharp as a knife. None of the three realized that outside the bar's door, a shadowy figure was leaning against the wall, silently watching. He wore an old gray coat. The lighter in his hand flickered once and went out. He had just overheard the entire conversation. A faint smile crossed his face. A raspy voice broke into the night. "They think they can live in peace? It's time each one of them paid the price." The figure walked away, leaving behind a glowing cigarette butt on the stone floor, like a warning of the storm that was slowly approaching. The night of scheming at the bar ended, and the next morning, the Parker mansion lit up again under the gentle sunlight. After breakfast, Lily ran happily into her father's study, a small silver necklace with a round stone pendant sparkling on her chest. It was the birthday gift Ethan had secretly ordered and designed just for his daughter. She turned the pendant in her fingers, her eyes shining brightly. "Daddy, you said this would protect me. Does it really have magic in it?" Ethan was reading the newspaper. Hearing her words, he smiled softly and stroked her head. "Yes, it's your daddy's magic. Whenever you're in danger, it will call me right away. As long as you wear it, I'll always know where you are." Lily smiled innocently and wrapped her little arms tightly around her father's neck. That brief moment made Ethan's heart feel lighter. In the past few days, he had seen too many marks of fear etched in his daughter's eyes. At least today, he wanted her to believe that a charm was always by her side. In the afternoon, when school let out, the gate of Rosewood Elementary bustled with children rushing outside. Lily stood waiting with a few classmates, her mind still lingering on the necklace that gleamed in the sun. A black truck pulled up not far away. The door opened, and a man stepped out. He wore a security guard's uniform with a fake name tag pinned to his chest. It was Frank Miller, one of Marcus Doyle's men. Frank had once worked as a parking lot enforcer and had a criminal record for theft, and now Marcus had hired him to carry out this job. Frank walked closer, bent down, and spoke in a low, seemingly friendly tone. "Lily Parker, right? Your dad asked me to pick you up. Come on or you'll be late." Lily froze for a moment. Her teacher had always warned her not to follow strangers, but his gentle voice and the look in his eyes that seemed familiar made her hesitate. Frank quickly leaned closer, flashing a false smile. "Your dad is busy with a meeting and can't make it in time, so he asked me to bring you home. The car is right over there. Come on, be a good girl. Your dad is waiting." Lily gripped the straps of her backpack, her eyes filled with worry, but in the end, her small feet followed him. The car doors slammed shut, and in an instant, darkness fell, swallowing all the light. Elsewhere in the city, in a high-rise office, Ethan was sitting at his desk reviewing contracts. The sound of typing keys mixed with the rustle of papers. Suddenly, his phone began to vibrate nonstop. Ethan bent down. The screen displayed the GPS tracking app connected to Lily's necklace. A red dot was blinking furiously, and an abnormal alarm symbol appeared. Ethan's heart tightened. He jumped up, the chair crashing backward, his voice almost a scream. "Lily, something's happening to her." Without a second thought, he snatched his coat and bolted out of the office. As he ran, he dialed the police, his voice urgent and breathless. "My daughter has been kidnapped. I have the tracking signal. Send a team immediately." Inside the car, he drove like the wind, cold sweat breaking out across his forehead. On the phone screen, the red dot kept moving, then gradually slowed down. "Hold on, Lily. You have to be safe." Suddenly, the dot stopped completely. It remained fixed at the edge of the city. Ethan zoomed in on the map. An abandoned warehouse appeared. surrounded by patches of wild grass. His throat tightened. He clenched the steering wheel, shouting into the phone at the officer on the other end. "We have to get there now, or it will be too late." The glow from the phone screen lit up Ethan's tense face. Outside, the sound of police sirens began to wail, merging with the pounding of his heart like a war drum. The police car swerved sharply onto the pothole-ridden dirt road, a cloud of dust rising under the dim yellow lights. Ethan gripped the steering wheel tightly, his face rigid. On the phone screen, the red dot from Lily's necklace stayed motionless inside an abandoned warehouse at the edge of the city. "Hold on, Lily. You have to be safe," he murmured, almost like a prayer. The sirens wailed long and sharp, tearing through the stillness of the night. 2 police cars followed close behind. In one of them sat Captain Alan Murphy, a man in his 50s with a solid build and steady eyes, giving orders into the radio. He had faced countless kidnapping cases, but rarely had he seen a father like Ethan, impatient, eyes bloodshot, ready to charge into danger just to save his child. The warehouse appeared in the distance, peeling brick walls, a rusted iron gate, a few flickering yellow bulbs outside. The tension in the air was suffocating, as if the darkness itself was hiding a terrible secret. Inside, Lily sat huddled on the cold concrete floor, her hands tied tightly behind her. Her tear-streaked face trembled with every breath. Each gust of wind whistling through the cracks in the door made her flinch. Marcus Doyle slammed the phone, its battery already removed, down onto the ground. His hoarse voice dripped with irritation. "A kid, and she's already this much trouble. I hate crying brats." He paced back and forth, his shoes clacking against the floor, smoke curling thick around him. In another corner stood his accomplice Ricky Thin, shifty-eyed, fiddling with a small knife while glancing nervously at Lily. The iron door screeched open. Isabella Grant walked in, dressed in a sweeping black gown, her makeup smeared yet her eyes blazing with fury. The harsh light cast her figure like that of a ghost. She strode forward, stopping right in front of the girl. Isabella's voice rose, heavy with resentment. "This child, the one who stole everything from me. Look at her, trembling, so terrified she can't even speak." Lily sobbed, her red eyes pleading, her voice breaking. "Please, please don't. Let me go back to my dad. I'm so scared." Isabella leaned down, her cold hand gripping Lily's hair, yanking her face upward. She whispered into the child's ear, "You're nothing but a thorn. If it weren't for you, Ethan would still be mine. If it weren't for you, my life wouldn't have turned into this mess." Lily wept harder, struggling against the ropes that bound her tighter and tighter. Marcus cleared his throat, his eyes filled with irritation. "Enough already. Stop wasting time with the kids. My job is to keep her until he pays. Your grudge can wait." Isabella spun around, shrieking in a high-pitched, uncontrollable voice. "No, I don't want money. I want Ethan on his knees. I want to see that look of despair when he loses the most precious thing he has." Marcus narrowed his eyes and dragged his feet closer, his tone laced with hatred. "You've lost your mind. But if you pay double, I don't care. Just remember this. Don't let the cops get involved. If anything slips, we're both dead." Before he could finish, the wail of police sirens echoed from afar. Red and blue lights flickered through the crack in the door. Marcus flinched and cursed under his breath. "Damn it! Someone tipped them off!" Ricky froze, gripping the knife in his hand tighter. "What do we do now, Marcus?" Isabella, wild and frantic, screamed with bloodshot eyes. "Keep her here! I won't lose this chance! Never!" Suddenly, the warehouse door burst open. Flashlights cut across the shadows. Ethan stormed in like a gust of wind, his voice booming. "Lily!" The little girl's head snapped up, her tear-filled eyes glowing with relief. "Daddy!" Captain Allen and the officers followed close behind, weapons raised. Their shouts thundered through the warehouse. "Police! Drop your weapons!" In the chaos, Marcus stumbled back, his hand reaching for the gun tucked inside his jacket. Ricky blocked the window, his knife gleaming. Isabella, like a cornered beast, suddenly snatched the knife from the table. She lunged straight toward Lily, her eyes blazing with madness. "This child has to disappear. No one will save her." Ethan roared, his heart about to explode. He threw himself forward, his arms stretched out to shield her. The glint of steel hovered only inches from Lily's chest. For one suspended instant, time seemed to freeze. The blade came down, and a cry erupted through the dark warehouse. "Stop!" And in that fleeting moment, the fragile line between life and death hung by the thinnest thread. The scream echoed through the warehouse. The knife grazed Ethan's arm before clattering to the floor. At the same time, the deafening sound of gunfire erupted from the police. The bullet struck Isabella's hand, making her stumble and collapse. The knife slipped from her grasp and fell with a sharp clang against the cement floor. Marcus panicked and reached for his gun, but within seconds, 2 SWAT officers lunged at him and slammed him to the ground. He thrashed and cursed wildly, yet in just a few moments, his face was pressed against the cold concrete, handcuffs locked tightly around his wrists. Ricky trembled as he dropped his knife, raising both hands in surrender when he saw the red laser dot flickering directly on his chest. Amid the chaos, Ethan clutched Lily tightly, pulling her free from the ropes. The little girl sobbed in her father's arms, her whole body shaking, her eyes swollen from tears, yet lighting up the instant she recognized his face. "Daddy, I thought I would never see you again." Lily's voice broke, her tiny hands clinging desperately to his shirt. Ethan trembled, holding her as if letting go for even 1 second would cause the entire world to collapse. His voice came out hoarse, thick with emotion. "No, Lily, I'm here. No one will ever touch you again." Behind them, Isabella shrieked in hysterical rage, her sharp voice ringing through the warehouse. "You don't understand. Everything I did was only to get my husband back, to take my family back. Ethan is mine. That child is nothing but an eyesore." Ethan spun around, his eyes blazing, each word erupting like a roar. "Family? You never knew what family means. Family isn't something to exploit, and it is never a place to torment an innocent child." The warehouse fell silent for a moment, broken only by the ragged breaths of the subdued criminals. 1 week later, at the Los Angeles County Courthouse, the trial for the shocking kidnapping case began. The courtroom was packed. The press jostled for space. Camera flashes burst incessantly. Ethan walked in holding Lily's hand. Beside him was Hannah, 5 months pregnant, and also a key witness. Sitting at the defendant's bench, Isabella Grant wore the orange prison uniform, her once glamorous face now gaunt, yet her eyes still flickered with resentment. Marcus Doyle, broad-shouldered and imposing, kept his head down, both hands cuffed. Veronica King, Isabella's close friend, tried to keep a composed demeanor, but her face had gone pale. The prosecutor, Michael Turner, a tall and lean man in his 40s, stepped up to the stand. His voice was calm, but carried clearly across the room. "Your Honor, today we are not only prosecuting a kidnapping, this case is proof of the cruelty of those who exploited the name of family to destroy a child. We have all the necessary evidence." The large screen lit up, showing footage from the hidden cameras Ethan had installed in his house. The images displayed Isabella pouring water, shouting, and even slapping Lily right there in the living room. The courtroom erupted with murmurs. Some people shook their heads, while a few women wiped away tears. Isabella screamed, her voice shrill and defiant. "No, that was discipline. I just wanted the girl to behave better." Judge William Anderson, a 60-year-old man with neatly combed silver hair and stern eyes, struck his gavel. "Order. Mrs. Grant, remain silent unless you want to be removed from this courtroom." Hannah was called to the witness stand. She walked slowly, one hand resting on her belly. Her voice trembled but remained firm as she looked straight at the judge. "I was there. I witnessed how that woman turned a 7-year-old child into a servant in her own home. I heard the cries, the pleas. No one, no mother, could ever do such a thing." Ethan bowed his head, tightening his grip on Lily's hand, his eyes filled with both gratitude and sorrow. Veronica King was summoned next. She tried to appear composed, but her eyes darted nervously when she faced the prosecutor. I only heard what Isabella told me. I didn't take part in anything." But Attorney Turner didn't waver. Immediately, he projected text messages onto the screen conversations between Veronica and Isabella, where they plotted to spread false rumors and cover up the abuse. Added to that was the evidence of money transfers through Marcus's account, with Veronica as the intermediary. The entire courtroom erupted. Veronica's face drained of all color, and at last she lowered her head, unable to say another word. After hours of arguments, Judge William Anderson rose to his feet, his stern voice echoing through the chamber. After reviewing all the evidence and testimonies, this court rules as follows. Isabella Grant is sentenced to 15 years in prison for child abuse and conspiracy to kidnapping. Marcus Doyle, 18 years in prison for organizing the kidnapping and illegal possession of weapons. Veronica King, 5 years in prison for aiding and concealing criminal acts. The sound of the gavel struck, closing the trial. A wave of relief swept through the audience. Hannah burst into tears, overcome with release. Lily clung tightly to her father, whispering, "Daddy, it's over now, isn't it?" Ethan wrapped his arms around his daughter, his voice choked yet steady. "Yes, sweetheart. Justice is on our side." As the officers escorted the convicts out, Isabella turned back. Her eyes burned with hatred. She leaned close. Her whisper meant only for Ethan, "You will never escape me." Ethan tightened his grip on Lily's shoulder, cold and unyielding, offering no reply. But deep inside he knew that venomous curse would haunt his family for years to come. Out in the courthouse hallway, while reporters jostled and shouted, a lone figure stood in silence, watching. His eyes followed Ethan and Lily, a lighter flickering briefly in his hand before snapping shut. Another shadow might still be waiting ahead. After the trial, the gloomy days passed. No more Isabella's screams, no more Marcus's shadow. Ethan brought Lily back to the mansion, but the house that had once been filled with fear was now replaced by the warmth Hannah brought. The iron gate no longer felt cold. Instead, in the garden, Hannah planted clusters of sunflowers. Every morning, Lily ran out to water them, her tiny hands clutching the watering can, her face dotted with sweat yet glowing with a radiant smile. One time, while Ethan was tying his tie to head to the company, Lily rushed in, breathless with excitement. "Daddy, the first sunflower bloomed. It's huge." Ethan bent down, lifted her high in his arms, and laughed loudly. "Yes, just like you. Even after walking through the darkness, you still rise and reach for the light." During the first nights after the incident, Lily still had nightmares. She would wake up crying in the middle of the night, gripping her father's hand tightly, sobbing. "Daddy, I saw my stepmother pouring water on me. I saw myself locked in the dark storage room." Ethan held her close, silently comforting her. Hannah also came in, carrying a cup of warm milk. She sat on the edge of the bed, speaking gently. "That was only a dream, Lily. Dreams fade away, but in real life you are safe now." At first, Lily hesitated to call Hannah Mom. She would still whisper shyly, "Miss Hannah, can you read me one more story?" But little by little, Hannah's gentle patience broke down the walls of fear in the girl's heart. One evening, when Hannah closed the fairy tale book, Lily suddenly wrapped her arms around Hannah's growing belly and whispered, "Mom, Hannah, can the baby inside hear me telling stories?" Hannah choked up, her eyes red, and held the child tightly, nodding. From that moment, Lily officially called her Mom. One spring morning, golden sunlight poured across the garden. Ethan, dressed simply in a white shirt, held a small velvet box in his hand. He turned to Hannah, his voice sincere, trembling slightly like a young man confessing for the first time. "Hannah, you have shown me what a real home is. I want to build this family with you, forever." Hannah placed her hand over her growing belly, her eyes brimming with tears. "Ethan, I never thought I would have a place to call home. But now, thanks to you and Lily, I do. I say yes." At that very moment, Lily came running in, her eyes sparkling. "Mom, Hannah, really? I'm going to have a baby brother or sister?" Hannah knelt down, pulled the girl into her arms, smiling through her tears. "Yes, and you will always have both your dad and me by your side. This baby will be the gift that keeps us together forever." Ethan knelt beside them, wrapping his arms around both. In that moment, the darkness that had once shrouded the house completely vanished. The wedding was simple, without extravagance, attended only by a few close friends, some new neighbors, and Captain Allen, the man who had saved Lily on that dreadful night. When he stepped forward to shake Ethan's hand, his voice was steady and warm. You fought like a true father. Now let this family live in peace. Dr. Elizabeth Moore, the obstetrician in charge of Hannah's pregnancy, was also present. She smiled, placed a hand on Hannah's shoulder, and said, "Both mother and baby are healthy. Just keep a calm spirit. I believe the love within this family will be the best medicine." At the ceremony, Lily wore a brand new white dress. She ran cheerfully around the tables, no longer trembling and hiding behind her father as before. The garden filled with bursts of laughter, replacing the sobs that had once haunted it. That day, the four of them, Ethan, Hannah, Lily, and the unborn child, strolled together in the park. The wind was cool, sunlight streamed through the leaves. Lily skipped ahead, clutching a bunch of balloons, her white dress fluttering in the breeze. Hannah linked her arm with Ethan's, resting her head gently on his shoulder, her eyes following her daughter with pride. Ethan squeezed her hand softly and whispered, "From now on, our child will never have to cry and beg again. We will never let the past return." Hannah nodded, placing her hand over her belly, her smile radiant. "And this baby will grow up in a home filled with laughter, not tears." Lily turned back, lifting the balloons high, and shouted, "Mom, Dad, look at me. I'm running faster than the wind." Ethan and Hannah laughed, their eyes meeting, overflowing with simple happiness. From the shadows, they had stepped into the light. The wicked had been punished, and the good had found peace. In the arms of love, Lily finally had a true home, a place where she no longer had to bow and plead for mercy, no longer carried fear in her eyes, but only laughter, and the sweet calls of Dad and Mom echoing through the house. On their way back, as the sunset spread across the sky, Ethan turned to Hannah, his voice low but resolute. "We've been through it all. Now, this is truly the beginning." And together, hand in hand, they walked into a new future where the light of dawn would forever shine upon their home. The story ends with laughter, but what remains with us is a profound lesson. No matter what tricks the wicked may use, in the end they will always have to pay the price. And the good, through patience, love, and faith, will always be rewarded in the end. Ethan, Hannah, and little Lily have stepped out of the darkness and found a peaceful home, a place where there are no more tears of pleading, only love and hope. That is exactly what Story for Heart always wants to share with you. Touching stories, heartwarming stories, so that each of us can believe that justice and compassion still exist all around us. And what about you? After hearing this story, have you ever witnessed a friend, a child, or even yourself stepping out of the shadows to find the light? If you were Ethan, would you have the courage to face the truth and stand up to protect the one you love until the very end? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to listen. And if today you are feeling tired, remember that somewhere there is still a home, a pair of arms wide enough for you to lean on. Thank you for walking this journey with Story for Heart. I hope this story not only touched your heart, but also reminded you of this. No matter how thick the darkness, the light of love will always prevail.